When the snow fell on the small village of Hafnarfjordur in Iceland, the world seemed to hush. It was a place where the wind sang mournful tunes through the cracks of the turf houses and where the sea's icy grip tightened its hold as winter descended. Yet amidst this stark landscape there lived a woman named Elin, whose spirit shone like a beacon in the gathering gloom. Elin was a widow, her days filled with the quiet routine of tending her small garden and brewing tea in her humble cottage. The walls might have been bare and the roof patched with dried seaweed, but within its hearth there was always a cheerful glow. And that glow came from more than just burning turf. It radiated from Elin's heart, which was as vast and deep as the sea itself. The villagers knew Elin for her gentle nature. They'd watch as she walked through the village, her steps light, her eyes crinkled with kindness, always ready with a kind word or a listening ear. But it was on the stormy nights when the wind screamed and the waves crashed against the shore that they truly saw the depth of her character. For when the men returned from their fishing boats, their bodies shivering, their spirits dampened by the biting cold, she would be waiting with a pot of hot tea. And it wasn't just tea. It was a promise of warmth and comfort, a silent vow that as long as she lived, no one in the village would ever face the harsh Icelandic winters alone. Then there was Magnus. He lived in a grand house at the edge of the village, a house that looked like a fortress against the elements. Unlike the other villagers, Magnus wasn't born into the rhythms of the sea and the land. He was a trader who had come from the bustling streets of Copenhagen, bringing with him tales of far-off lands and a thirst for wealth beyond the horizon. Many villagers saw Magnus as an outsider, a man more interested in counting his coins than sharing in their simple joys. And yet, when the annual Yuletide feast was being planned, everyone looked forward to one thing: the magnificent dishes Magnus brought from his travels. Exotic spices, rare cheeses, and wines that tasted like liquid gold were just a few of the delights he shared, making each celebration an adventure for the taste buds. But as the days grew shorter and the icy grip of winter tightened around them, a shadow fell over the village. The sea froze, trapping the fishermen's boats in icy shackles. The sheep in the hills began to starve, and fear became a constant guest in their homes. Winter had come to Iceland, and it had come with a vengeance. In the midst of this bleakness, one bitter evening, Magnus decided to hold a great feast in his honor. Every family in the village was invited except for Elin. No one really knew why. Perhaps Magnus saw her as a reminder of their humble lives, or maybe he just didn't want anyone reminding him of his own flickering hearth. Whatever the reason, the exclusion hurt many, for they knew Elin's kettle was not just a source of warmth, but a symbol of community, a testament to the ties that bound them together in the face of the harsh Icelandic winter. As the night deepened, the grand hall echoed with laughter and song. Magnus, resplendent in his finest garments, held court, regaling the villagers with tales of far-off lands and daring adventures. The tables groaned under the weight of delicacies, cheeses from distant farms, roasted meats, and fresh fish from the frozen sea. The hall was filled with the scent of roasting meats, spiced cider, and fresh-baked bread. It was a feast fit for a king. Yet as the night wore on, a hush fell over the merrymaking. The mayor, a robust man who was the heart and soul of the village, suddenly clutched at his chest. Color drained from his face and he collapsed to the floor. Panic surged through the hall. What was happening to the mayor? Fear turned to horror as the mayor's breathing grew shallow and his skin, once flushed with merriment, now ashen. In his glazed eyes, they saw their own mortality reflected back at them. Magnus, quick to react, poured large quantities of his finest wine down the mayor's throat, hoping to revive him. But the wine, instead of bringing back the mayor, seemed to make him sicker. As the mayor lay there, his life ebbing away, someone spoke up. "Fetch Elin's kettle," they cried. "She will know what to do." When Aylin arrived at the hall, the sight that met her was both shocking and distressing. Their best healer had failed, the mayor's condition was critical, and time was running out. With a calm that only years of facing the harsh realities of life at sea could bring. Aylin bent over the dying man. She dipped a cloth in the cool water from her well and wiped the sweat from the mayor's brow. Then she did something that seemed almost magical. She placed a simple clay cup to his lips. It was filled not with wine, but with hot water, the same water that had warmed countless villagers on bleak winter nights. The room was silent as they watched the mayor take the first sip. His eyes fluttered open, then widened in surprise. A cough racked his body, and then, miraculously, color returned to his cheeks and warmth to his hands. One by one, the villagers breathed a sigh of relief. They had seen death many times in this unforgiving land, and they knew when hope had frozen over like the sea. But in that moment, as the mayor stirred and spoke, they saw life rekindled, not in wine or fancy feasts, but in a simple cup of hot water. And yet, despite the awe in their eyes, some still couldn't comprehend how the mere touch of hot water could save the mayor. It was too ordinary, too simple, too much like the countless cups of tea Aylin had shared over the years. So they turned to the one person who could provide an answer, Magnus. "How could you let this happen? This woman has brought shame upon our village. We must banish her," he hissed, unable to comprehend how a poor widow could hold so much sway over their lives. But before he could carry out his wicked plan, Aylin raised her head, her gaze steady, her voice ringing with quiet strength. "There is no witchcraft here," she said, her eyes meeting Magnus's. "Only care. The warmth comes not from the kettle, but from the heart that offers it." Her words hung in the air, heavy with truth. The villagers, who had loved the mayor like a father, felt a surge of anger at Magnus's betrayal. How could he have been so blind? How could he have not seen what Aylin had shown them all these years? In a swift move that shocked everyone, the mayor, now fully recovered, took the staff of office from the surprised hands of Magnus and declared, "From this day forth, you are no longer the leader of this village. Your term has ended." The villagers erupted in cheers. Finally, justice had been served. As for Aylin, she continued to live in her small cottage, her kettle always ready to share its warmth. The villagers now understood that the true warmth didn't come from Magnus's grand feasts or fancy imported wines. It came from the simple act of kindness, from the compassion that knew no bounds, from the heart that chose love over hate, unity over division, and kindness over greed. Years passed, seasons changed, and the tale of Aylin and her magical kettle became a part of the village lore, a story told and retold until it became a proverb. "Don't despise the cup of kindness, for it holds more warmth than all the wine in the world." And whenever the winds of winter howled outside, the people of Hafnarfjordur huddled closer, not just to their fires, but to each other, remembering the lesson Aylin had taught them so many years ago.